זה שיר פשוט, זה שיר קצר, אולי נשמע טיפה מוזר, אבל תדע, כי זו עובדה, שאלוהים אוהב אותך, והוא רואה, והוא שומע.
We're back. Hi, I'm Charlie Brown. I am excited to be here with you. We're going to talk about practically applying this portion, God's word, to our life. We might dive into a couple little Hebrew things today. Still dealing with it. Thank you for all your prayers, dealing with the junk, but it's been a great week. I'm praying that you all are having a fantastic week. It's great. Father, bless them, bless them, bless them. Thank you that your word is anointed. Thank you that you are here. You're in our midst. You're right here, Father. Thank you, Father. You're opening our eyes. You're opening, more importantly, our hearts. Father, that we know your will, your perfect will, and your ways. We're going to jump into Vayakhel, and this is six. We got 6 chapters here, so you obviously know we're not going to do this. But Vayakhel and Pekudai, or Pekudei, or whatever, however you say that. It's all phonetic, so it's all Hebrew to me. So we have Exodus 35:1 to 40:38, and then for those of you following along in the Haftarah, we have Ezekiel 45:16 to 46:18. We've popped in Luke 22:1 through 13, and that's where we're going to go. We have an hour, so I'm going to get through probably only 2 chapters today because I think this is just such a beautiful portion, and it is my favorite this week. So it's a good portion, and I'm excited to jump in it with you. And I'm also want to hear from you. What are you hearing out of this portion this week? Because that's what's important, is that as a community, as we're going to see, that's what this whole portion is about right now, is how do we build a community? And right now it looks like a tabernacle. It looks like people coming together to build a tabernacle. How do we do that? What does that look like? It looks like us, even on this platform, wherever you're watching from, if you're watching later, if you're watching right now live, is that you're putting in the comments, you're saying, this is what the Father downloaded to me this week. Maybe you're watching later, maybe you're watching on Shabbat. This is one of the things you watch on Shabbat. Blessings to you. I want you to write it, put it in the comments wherever you're watching from, or email me, Charlie, just an I, at charliebrown.com. Again, Charlie, just an I, CHARLI, charliebrown.com. I want to hear from you. I want to hear what is the Holy One downloading to you, because that's how, as a community, we grow together. As we're going to see, the curtains don't stand up without a hook. The curtains don't stay up without walls, without cross beams, without pillars, right? Without the stakes to hold them in place. Everything is necessary. And so if I'm going to challenge you today, so get ready to be challenged, is it's not time anymore for you just to be sitting and getting fat in your recliner, just listening and listening and listening and listening. What are you doing? Because we can't just be hearers of the word only. That's not what we're called to be as a tabernacle, as his people. We are supposed to be co-laborers, not co-recliners and co-sitters and co-learners. We're supposed to be co-laborers. So it's time to get up off our hindies, get out, and start laboring. What is it inside of you? Let's stir that up today. Let's leave this as in Ephesians, that your calling and election is made sure. You know your gifts. You know who you are. You may not know where to apply them right now, but you're going to get up and start practicing your gifts, just like Joseph did in the prison, right? He practiced his gifts in the midst of yuck, in the midst of darkness, in the midst of no one seeing him do it, in the midst of really the worst of the worst, in prison. You're in the comfort of your own home. Where can you practice your gifts? So we're going to jump into that. So she prays. That's a conference coming up. It's a virtual conference, which means you can watch it in your jammies. No one has to see you. Your whole family can sit around and watch it if you want. It's going to be on March the 26th. It starts at 10 a.m. Central Time, I believe. You'll have 11 Eastern Time. Check the website, therootedcafe.com, under events. And we start live. We have speakers Valerie Moody and Deborah Flanagan and Robin Luton. They're going to be taking us through, such great stuff. I know Robin Luton right now, I just got her got her teaching breakdown and just taking us through. She prays through the tabernacle. I'm telling you, I talked about this every week, but that's one I'm really excited about. We have Misty Harbor talking about in the depths of things, praying in the depths of things. Dr. Deborah Gold is going to be talking about praying through trauma. Denise Hefner, we've snagged her in as like a bonus teaching here at the last minute, but I want to sneak her in as an option for you all on a breakout session because she talks about praying in your private retreat, how to take a private retreat in private time, which I'll share a little bit more in just a minute about that. But she talks about that's she prays, she gets close to him, right? And then we have Hava and Ed Harris, who's going to talk about she prays through the marriage. Amazing couple, amazing marriage coaching couple, phenomenal. If you go to edharris.org, you can see more of his programs on marriage. And then I'm going to be teaching again about letting go of control and getting close, praying in that. So it is a live event. You can register. It is free if you attend live. So you can sit there, you can get your food, we have breaks, so you have time to do whatever. Again, you know what I do is I take my phone and I live cast it to my TV. So I just sit on my couch and just watch it. Some people will plug a USB from their laptops into their TV so they have it on a big screen and they can watch the whole event just like that. So I encourage you, get ready now, go get registered so that you have the links. You can get on and free for that. If you want the teachings of the bundle of the teachings, we do have those available to you so you can purchase those separately. If you're a member of the Ruta Cafe, you get them for free. They're included in your monthly membership. So huge deal. So I recommend, I mean, if nothing else, don't tell anyone I told you this, but go in and just become a member for a month. The first month is half off. Get through that if you can't make it on there on the 26th. Then maybe you can go in there and just watch those and browse around. I think that you'll stay because there's so much great stuff in there and you're going to love it. So great conference coming up for that. Also, just going to put a word out there to the ladies that Surge Women's Messianic Conference is in August. Registration is open. It will sell out. It is going to be amazing. It's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 4 days. So Thursday night and then all day Friday, all day Saturday, all day Sunday. You guys, it's going to be phenomenal. I'm going to be teaching there one session, Say Yes to the Dress. It's going to be fun about the Jewish wedding and the returning Messiah. So this is going to be exciting. And then so many great speakers there. Go on their website. Just you can Google Surge Messianic Women's Conference and it'll pop right up for you. They also have a Facebook group. So, okay. So isn't it interesting as we start right out, we're going to start out in 35. Again, I apologize in advance for any coughing that may ensue. But we have Exodus 35. It is interesting to me that we start again. We have gone from, let's go back into 34. We end up with, after the children came near, he commanded them, he spoke to them at Mount Sinai, then Moshe ended up speaking to them. He had to put the veil on his face. And then whenever Moshe went in before to speak to him, and he would remove the veil, but when he came out, he had to put the veil back on. And then he says, Moshe assembled all the congregation of the children of Israel, and he said to them, so he brings everybody together again, and he says, these are the words of Jehovah, and that he's commanded you to do. So he brings them all together, and he says, listen, I got a word for you. And guess what he starts right off with? Shabbat. He starts off with Shabbat. Like, have we noticed that it's being, I don't know why, but it's, if you have I would say if your little tuner on the radio station is tuned into the right radio station, you should be noticing we're all talking about the same thing. All of us on this one, and it's the Shabbat radio station right now. I know in our home, we've been really digging in and asking the Father, what does this look like for our family? What does this look like for our home? What does this look like for us? And I'm going to encourage you to just press in on this issue because it's not a mistake that it's coming up. It's coming up. He says, we start again in this section with Shabbat. This is the Sabbath. This must be pretty important. I spent last Saturday being really stirred up when I was in Colorado Springs by Denise Hefner about this personal retreat. I wasn't able to do like a full 24-hour, from sundown Friday to sundown, but kind of talked about it with you guys before. But what I ended up doing is I got up on Saturday morning, we had breakfast together, and then we kind of just made a decision that in the home that day there wouldn't be any noise pollution, short of maybe some soaking worship. No words, but it could be like soaking worship music. If you guys, you can turn it on YouTube and there's hours. You can just put it, and for 3 hours it'll just play soaking music, which is beautiful to have in your home in the background. But there was no noise pollution of anything else, not television, not movies, not video, none of that. No teachings, nothing. It was just bleh. We did that until about 3:30, and then we hopped in and listened to Ben and me and watched part of their services. But during this time, it was a shutdown. So all I did is I sat in my room. My husband went into his office, his main cave. I went into the bedroom, and I literally just only took breaks to go potty and to eat something real quick. And it was really like grab a protein bar and drinking water. And I was thinking, there'll be times maybe this will be a great time to fast. But during this still time is what I kept hearing him say. I'm going to be honest with you. I had already been notified by Denise that it could take hours. It could take hours for me to be able to actually close all the tabs in my brain. Okay, I'm just going to check real quick. Do I have nope, hours. So, and I was right. It took hours. It took like 5 hours, 6 hours almost for me to it was just until the very end I finally reached still. So I'm curious, have you done this before where you literally shut down? Maybe you went and sat by a lake, but all you had is like a notebook and your Bible, and that's it. And how long did it take you to reach still? Because for me, it's like all the things going in my head, and what it brought to me more than anything probably was an awareness of how through the week I'm not still, right? So sitting there, I'm looking out my window and I'm watching birds. That's kind of what I did all day. Is I watched the birds, I watched the trees. I watched this one bird sitting in this tree, and it was sitting there, and I feel like the Father was showing me still doesn't mean a statue. That's not what still means, but it's just kind of being. So this bird made a decision to sit on this branch, and even though there was wind going, and every once in a while a little wing would go, whoop, whoop, and maybe the tail feathers would come up, and then it'd be like, whoop, 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 and it would just stabilize itself. Every once in a while, it may need to do a movement here or there to stabilize itself, but it was still. And he was showing me that for me, I was thinking still had to look a certain way. And I think the big lesson I came out of Saturday was that still doesn't have to be what I think. But it was really great for me that I spent that time, and I will continue to do that, and getting a better understanding. Did I have this amazing download from the Holy One? No, I didn't. So don't have those expectations. You might. I did feel refreshed. I will tell you that I felt refreshed. I didn't sleep. I thought I might nap, but hey, why not? But I didn't. I didn't nap. I was awake, and I just was being. And even though it was for only like 7 hours, 6.5 hours, whatever, I was just being. I read through my journal. I read and I saw that the things that the Father had answered, prayers he had answered. It was amazing. I read through the book of Ephesians a couple times, just sitting in it and thanking him for today. We're going to talk about that, about, really about what's your calling, what's your election, how are you fitting into the body, how are you fitting in to what he's created you to be. So this seventh day, it's set apart. It really is set apart. It's holy. I was listening to Aleph Beta, and I actually did listen to it this week. And it was talking about, if you're not a member of Aleph Beta, they have a great little membership program, or you can listen to 1 or 2 videos, I think free a week. The Rooted Cafe, if you email us, we have it's info@the Cafe with a KAFE. We have a few spots left open as far as we purchased a student package from them, which we get a significant discount. Normally you pay I don't know, it's something like $147 for the year, or you pay it by the month, and we get it for lot less. And so you just reach out to us and we can help. We have a few spots open if you want to get it. We save over $100. So you could get that. But I love every once in a while listening. So I happen to be listening, and I love the way that they talk about the Sabbath in this, about this, and talking about how it's like a womb. It's the womb that's created where life is created. Though it's a set apart place Think about for a woman's body, it's the only thing it's used for is to create life. And it goes through cleansing. There's, I mean, interesting enough, like the tabernacle, there's blood that cleanses. If when there's death, the lining dies, blood flushes. I mean, we could get gross. I'm a nurse, sorry, I'll spare you. But it's a cycle of life constantly happening in this womb. It's a space that's created. It's been set apart for life to be created. And can we think about our wombs? Can we think about the tabernacle? Can we think about how about now the Sabbath, where we have this set apart place, the tabernacle, where life can be created, where we can get close to him, where we are renewed and refreshed, and we're able to get into his presence and to meet with him. And then there's this womb, same thing, but we have this. It's not weird that Sabbath is boom, here it is. It isn't. It's because it's actually this place set aside in the week where we get to meet with our creator. And he set aside this place apart. He doesn't need that. He didn't even need this planet. He didn't need all the laws of physics and all the things happening to keep this together. We do. We need the laws of physics to be operating. We need gravity to be operating. He doesn't. We need time to operate so that we can live in this womb. We need those laws and things. The same thing as what's happening in here is we need those. He doesn't. We do. And we need this space so that we can get close to him, and it's a connecting place, right? So I'm curious, how do you prioritize all that? Are you prioritizing everything you do, or are you prioritizing all the rest? And I have to be honest with you, I've been on the do wagon. I'm a do lever, not a be lever, and I've had really been tuning into the channel of the rest channel. And can I just say, people are like, oh my gosh, how do you get so much done? You're doing this, you're doing this. I hear you're so busy. I hear that, but the thing is, I'm not, because I prioritize rest. You know, we start our day resting, right? At sundown. Isn't that just like God? Everyone else begins the day at sunrise, like, oh, the day starts when the sun comes up. No, our day starts when the sun goes down. Our day should start in a place of rest when we're winding down for the day, and then we rest, and then we wake refreshed in the middle of our day, right? Isn't that beautiful? It's so contraindicated to what the world is doing. We're over and over showed how important rest is. I was listening to a podcast, and the gentleman was talking about the importance of sleep, and he was saying now that the people who are the who's who on the planet right now, that they're saying that what signifies abundance is the amount of sleep that you get. So you'll hear people like Elon Musk or people, they'll be bragging about how they get 8 or 9 hours of sleep every night. Look it up. It's kind of interesting that now abundance is being associated with rest. Well, our Father right now is starting this, and has been multiple times as we've been going through here, continually reminding us our abundance, our life starts with rest. And then we end our week resting. That it's really pivotal. We know the word Shabbat means rest. Shabbat. The Shabbat of rest we hear in this chapter. It's in verse 2. We're still in 35, right? We're 20 minutes in, we're on verse 2. It says the Shabbat of rest. Shabbat, Shabbaton. Basically, Shabbat, the rest day. Like, no, really, this is the day you do nothing, the rest. And I just give you guys a little snippet of my study session. I wrote out the letters for that. A sheen, a bait, and a het. Nope, I wrote the wrong thing. The tav. Sorry, that was a different word. I'm gonna fix my notes while you're on here with me. The sheen, the bet, and the tav. So we have a sheen. We see the presence, the fire of God. I loved it as I was on Shabbat. I was sitting looking at all the trees again, looking at his sheen, that letter sheen in all the trees. Challenge you, look for it. You know, looks kind of like a W. You look at it, the fiery flames, the power. We look at that sheen, that fire, right? Then we have the bait. So think of Shabbat up here, and we're just built. If we were going to paint a picture of what does this word look like, what does Shabbat look like? Well, it's the fire, And then Beit is the house. It's where learning takes place. It's where comfort happens. What happens in homes? Families are united. Things are brought into unity in the Beit, right? So we have this fire inside of this inside of this Beit, inside of this place of protection, this home. Oh wait, maybe like this place where things are created. And then the last letter is Tav, which is, we know, the last letter of the Hebrew alphabet. It reveals Messiah. It's the letter, it's 400. It means perfection. But let's not, it's, it's, it's like meeting. I wrote down that it's like doing things with a goal in mind, like a mountain climber reaching the top of and reaching its goal. But I want you to think of it more as the seal or a sign. So we have this. Tav is really the seal or the sign. That letter is. It's the perfect seal, the perfect sign inside this home where everything happens, where all the fire goes. Can you see the picture being painted of what Shabbat is now? Shabbat is that place where we are restored, where the fire and the power comes, where the seal is marked on us. But the thing that's different, if you're hearing a call to rest in here, it's a place to get close. It's a place to decide to not work, decide to not buy, trade, sell, decide to look different than everyone else. Is it the seal of him on us? Is it that Tav, that seal? Is Shabbat the seal? I believe it's like the wedding ring. It's the seal of his bride saying, I'm keeping this day because it's where we meet all the time. I know that we've watched several videos from the Seventh-day Adventists. They believe that the Shabbat is the seal, and that the other representations, people that are not honoring the Sabbath, or honoring it on a different day, is actually likened to the mark of the beast. Now, I'm not going to go down this trail with you all, but I'm just going to say that's there. I think today is that we see Shabbat. Shabbat should be what sets us apart. I know for us, we have someone who'll say, "Oh, I need to come fix." We had someone come in, they wanted to fix the refrigerator and they wanted to show up. And my husband said, "We need to get here by this time." I think I shared this last week. And he said, "Oh," my husband said, "before sundown, because that's when our Shabbat starts." And he was like, "Oh, I don't even know what that means." And that's cool because it's different. People need us to stand for something because the world is willy-nilly and not standing for something. It's not that we're crazy. You don't have to look like some big lunatic out there but you're just saying, "No, I have a date with my God. We shut down at sundown and we just like be with him." You don't have to make it some weird thing. Everything else you want to add that is traditional to it. The lighting the candles, to going through the prayers, to doing all those things. I love some of those things. However, remember, it is tradition. Now the tradition can beautify this moment, can set it up, help you set it apart, can help you make it holy or set apart than the other days of the week. Those things might work for you, but don't make it religion. Don't make it where someone else isn't doing that. Now they're not okay. They're not showing up to something, or they're not doing something like you think they do, or maybe they choose the day and they're not showing up to congregation or fellowship, and now all of a sudden like, oh well, they don't show up. Shabbat is about doing nothing. It's about resting. Everything else on that is man-made tradition. So please be careful of where you're pushing your judgment on. And I want to ask you, what do you do in your home on Shabbat? What brings joy and life to you? I don't want to know about the religious stuff that might be hard for you and they make you exhausted, but does it bring joy to you making bread with your kids? That's fun. But some people might be like, man, I don't have time. I can hardly I just slide in right at sundown and I'm like, oh, I just made it. What brings joy to you? Maybe for you that have to slide in, maybe what brings joy to you is that you sit and you have a bath, a little mikvah between you and God, and you're just like, Father, this is my day. I'm just giving this to you. Lighting the candles in our home, we do that only because for us it signifies that we're starting, and we know it's started now. Now, if we don't do it, doesn't make it not more or less a Shabbat for us. We have not done it for a season because we didn't want to do anything that wasn't in the Word. I've shared this before, but what we've decided is that there's certain things for us help us to make Shabbat more significant. This past Saturday was pivotal for me, and just doing nothing. I know going to church on Sunday was a lot of work for me. Now, if I go to church on a Sunday, yay, because it's not work for me. I can go show up, I can worship, I can do something. But if I'm going on, but sometimes going to a Shabbat service or going with a congregation, I love when they're in the afternoon on Saturday because I've actually been able to rest through the day. Some of you with kids, getting everybody ready to go somewhere is tough, right? So the other thing that we keep on going in this verse, it says it's not honoring. If you're not honoring the Shabbat and not honoring it leads to death. And I was like, is that literal, God? Is that literal? I want to hear from some of you. Have you found documented evidence that people died, were put to death because they didn't honor Shabbat? Like, I want to know, like, if there's there documented evidence. I am going to probably drive all of you crazy. Being in a doctoral program, I want evidence for everything. Like, who said that? Where is that documented, or is that hearsay? But it's also part of your journey in your faith. Are you believing things just because everybody said it all the time, but you haven't yourself looked it up? So encouraging you again, is this literal? Well, I think it is literal, and this is what I mean: is I may not have heard of anyone literally being put to death or killed. I'm sure it probably happened. But I think there's a lot of ways that we can die. There's many different ways than just that physical death of our bodies, our soul being separated from our neshama and our nefesh separating, right? I think there's different ways we can die. There's different things, right? Do we die in our exhaustion, in our mental fatigue, in things in our, I think, our cells? I think it brings quicker death because we haven't rested appropriately, because we haven't been in that, stepped into that. Remember the picture we painted, the fire and that presence of his in his home, where he actually seals us. He puts a seal on us, spending that time with him. I think that death can be propitiated. It can get worse in our bodies, in our minds, because of think about what causes so many illnesses right now: stress, autoimmune disorders, stress, a lot of heart disease, stress, cancer, stress. Look it up. Look, what does stress do? People with anxiety, panic, all these disorders, what would happen? Isn't that death? Doesn't that feel like death? Is that abundant life? I don't think so. Are we living the life that's abundant that Yeshua said, I'd give you life, an abundant life? Choose life or death. Who are you going to serve? And I think that we see that in this, the death here, I studied out this word mut, the word mut for death, that mem, the vav, and the tav, that mum, that mem. I don't think it's just the waters of revelation. I think it's because it's death. I think it's the contronym, which we know that the contronym for mem, it's not just waters in Revelation, it's chaos, the chaos that water can cause, right? Chaos, out of order, all crazy. I mean, think about, if you love being in the ocean, but if you've ever been knocked off your boogie board or surfboard, you'll know what that chaos is like. And then the vav, we're painting a picture of what this death is. The death, we have Shabbat, we see Shabbat, life, seal, beautiful being in the house, being filled by his presence. And then we see what's the not doing it brings mut, which brings this chaos. And then vav is the next letter. It's connecting us, or the and sign, and it's connecting to the tav, to this marker sign. So what sign are you being connected to? If you're not honoring it, are you being connected to a sign or a mark that isn't him? Isn't that a form of an antichrist, something not like him, as we're connecting ourselves? I mean, this could get crazy, right? We could just be, I don't know, we could go down this for a while in a rabbit trail. But what I know is this: it isn't an accident that we're hearing Shabbat, 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 set apart, set apart, set apart, set apart, rest, 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 right? Are you hearing the laws? You got to, don't do. No, what you're hearing is, I want to give you rest. I want you to rest. I want you to rest. I want you to be set apart. This is how people are going to know you're different, because you're resting, because you're doing things differently than everyone else. Is that hard? Yes. Does it get uncomfortable? Yes. Are people going to talk crazy about you? Yes. But when it comes down to it, and times change and they need something, they're going to know that you have the integrity because you've stuck to what you said. And this is what we do in our home. Because me and my house, we're going to serve the Lord. Me and my house, we're going to Shabbat. In this house, we will shut down and we will honor Shabbat. We will decide, which means we're going to die to everything else. Decide is like, think of side at the end of anything in Latin as suicide, pesticide, anything that brings death. We're going to put to death anything that doesn't align with that. Without being religious, without being under some crazy bondage, but instead we're going to submit this house. We're going to submit this house to what he's doing and what is he asking. When I was reading the Chumash one year, it said that talking about building out this tabernacle, we'll move on. You'll be happy to hear. Again, we're talking more about this tabernacle and we're going to go into a lot of details, but the Chumash says it's not an accident that the Sabbath is, we're told about the Sabbath again as we're going into talking about building the tabernacle, because he's saying that they're saying that they're giving examples of things that you could say, well, what is work? And we're not going to talk about that today, but you will say, well, dyeing cloth was work, or you can't do these things on Sabbath. It was kind of giving you an example of some things not to do on Shabbat. I'll let you guys go and research that, because this has to be a personal conviction, and I believe that the Holy One will convict you of the things, not chastise you as far as condemn you, but he will convict you of what things you should and shouldn't do. I just believe that. So, but he was saying that the day that it testified to the existence of God, and that day that testifies the existence of God actually supersedes the tabernacle where the people served. That it was setting up a precedent saying this day is more important than this building. Now that might be hard for you, some congregational leaders or ministry leaders, to hear. The day testifies of his existence more than the building testifies of his existence where we serve. The day is more important than the place. He says, don't kindle a fire. There's a big debate on this all constantly. Do I turn my lights on? Do I cook? Do I turn on my stove? What is he telling you? Because some things are permissible to some are not. When people ask me this question, the first thing I say is, what did he tell you? When you prayed about it, when you asked him, he said he'll answer your questions. He loves you so much, he's going to answer these questions. When you prayed about it, what did he say? Fire being kindled was referring to preparing food. It wasn't about being warm or anything. They would have always had a fire, I would assume. I could be wrong. But I think this was, for me, I think it's giving the women the day off, because there's a lot of work preparing food back then. Can you imagine? It's not like us now where most of the stuff we assemble food. We don't really prepare it. There was a lot of work, and getting the fire ready, getting the fire to the right temperature to bake bread, to do food, to all those things. It's a lot. So I think today that doing all that gives everybody gets to rest. Let's keep it simple and just say don't, because if we get into the details, they're going to get confused. So I'll just say don't start a fire. Don't prepare food, because the women can have the day off. Everybody, the kids, all the women who are cooking and prepping food get to have the day off. I mean, can you imagine? They would be really quickly, if that wasn't the case, they'd say, well, we all have to eat, so we'll just deal with whatever, but we all have to eat. So you guys need to still keep working. The women would still be working all day long. It would be all day long preparing all the meals. It wasn't like us. Literally, preparing meals was an all day long process. So it's simple. Just don't start the fires. So, how do you do that? How do you do that now? I don't know. I'd love to hear from you. What do you guys do? I've heard some ladies tell some fun stories. One young woman who I adore, she says that her family, she cooks 2 big meals for Shabbat. And the family gets to pick which meal they get, and the kids love it because they get to pick, well, are we going to have roast chicken, or are we going to have a roast, or we're going to have this, or we're going to have, they get to pick. There's this big giant spread for Shabbat dinner, and then everything else, because there's a second dinner, they have tons of leftovers for the next day so that there's no cooking the next day. Isn't that fun? Now, I'm going to tell you personally, in my house, we heat things up. I throw stuff in the microwave and I'll heat it up. There's other people I know, they do not do that. I just want you to, I promise you, the Holy One will convict me when I'm not supposed to do that anymore. He'll let me know. Now, I don't get into big anyways, we don't go shopping on that day. We don't go out to eat on that day. We don't buy, trade, or sell on that day, even on Amazon. We're very careful to wait until the sun comes up and come. But more importantly, even though I was doing all those things, I wasn't really being with him and resting. Okay, let's keep going. Now, next thing they do is they take up this big giant offering, the big offering, right? We love this as ministry leaders. We love this and we hate it because we're like, man, this doesn't ever happen for me. Wouldn't that be cool? Everyone, he says, who has a heart to move them. It was voluntary. You know, I hate asking for money. As a ministry leader, it's the thing, I would say it's the thing I really just do not like doing. I struggle. It's my, you know, Moshe had to ask for money, but he asked for money because God told him, ask the people. He was at, that was the money, the exchange for resources. He asked for resources. And I don't want to bother anybody. And I want to make sure that if I'm asking for something, it's going to be something that he's telling me to ask for. So I can encourage you, for you leading ministries and nonprofits, if you're asking, make sure that you've spent that rest time and he's downloaded to you what to ask for, because I believe that when you ask for those things, he will provide it, and then it will come in abundance, right? We do free conferences in the Rooted Cafe. We do a free conference at least once a quarter. Something new, something amazing we bring to women. It's an all-day event. Everyone's donating time and resources. So sure, all that is free. Everyone's time and resources are free. No one gets paid per se for speaking at the events. We don't pay speakers. However, there are platforms, streaming services, uh, electricity, internet services. There's all those things that have to be paid for. So every once in a while, I have to ask people to donate. This station, if you're watching via Messianic Lamb, yes, all of us are doing this on donating. Most of us pay for the production costs to be on Messianic Lamb. As our own producers of our own shows, we each pay to help cover the costs because it costs a lot for the streaming service. StreamYard isn't free. It's not free to do all the things that they do and to stream to all the places so everybody can watch it at their convenience where it's convenient for them. So where are you giving? Where are you giving? Are you giving? We talked about this a couple last week, I think. Again, are you giving to the things that are serving you? Blue Letter Bible, many of you use it. They need donations. Go into that. That's why Aleph Beta, I love their resources. So we pay for a thing to be with them because it helps pay their fees, the people to do all the work, because people have to stop their jobs in the empire jobs to work in kingdom jobs. So they should get paid. Even the Levites got paid, but they got paid in food. They got paid something, right? So anyway, donate to the things that are bringing life to you. And I'm going to ask you just to ask the Father, where do I need to be donating? Not because I've asked you or someone from the station has asked you or your congregation has asked you, but where's he asking? We don't have a temple. Do some research on what tithing means. Look into all that. Question everything and take it before the Father. Okay. Then he says, let all the wise-hearted come and make the things. Isn't that cool? It took everyone using their gifts to build this tabernacle. Let everyone come who's wise-hearted, who has skill. Are you wise? Are you skillful? Are you good at something? Are you using it to build kingdom things or just empire things, meaning the world? We'll call it the world empire. I'll be like Bema, right? Marty Solomon. Empire versus kingdom. So, are you doing kingdom things with it? Or are you just only, it doesn't mean you can't use it for empire. We all have tent making skills. We have to do certain things. But the most important thing we should be doing is the kingdom work. So, are you a seamstress? Are you doing kingdom work with that? What skills do you have? And maybe you're not. Maybe you've never thought of this before, but would you, in the comments, would you type, this is what I'm good at? You got to be good at something. It might be cooking, serving, cleaning. What are you good at? Men, are you good at mechanics, building things, fixing things? What are you good at? Would you put it in the comments? I want the comments to blow up right now. I just want people saying, this is what I'm good at. Wherever you're watching from, there's going to be some way you can comment below. YouTube, Facebook, wherever you're watching from, there's a way to comment. What are you good at? It's not bragging. It's a gift the Holy One gave you. Brag that He put that in you and you're great at it. Maybe you're great at finding bargains. Maybe you're great at drawing things, and maybe you're an engineer. Maybe you can see the way things come together, strategy, leadership. What are you good at? Okay, so I know it sounds silly, but I think you forget that those things we can use those things for the kingdom. And I promise you, if you submit that to the Holy One and say, Father, I have this gift of I'm able to do teeny little work. I know some ladies that do this like needlepoint stuff. I have a really gift of being able to do beautiful, meticulous work. Father, show me, would you show me where I could do this in the kingdom? Or maybe you're a man and you're saying, mechanics, I'm really good at fixing things or cars or whatever. Father, would you show me how to use the skill that you've given me it's just easy for me? Could you show me how to do organizing things? It's easy for me. Strategizing things, it's easy for me. Would you show me? Because every little thing counts. If we go through this whole section now, it's going to get specific. And I think you should look up every one of the words in Hebrew and look at the specific and see the pictures dancing around as you watch this tabernacle coming together. Watch the connection with the ark. Watch the connection with the garden. Oh, wait, probably in our womb, what's connected and how things are built together and put together as we grow this tabernacle inside the secret place. What is it? Dr. Dina Dye just finished her workbook. We were blessed to be part of helping with like beta group of women who went through her 3 books, right? About the tabernacle revealed is the name of the workbook. But she actually put all 3 books together in a workbook, and then she's now doing classes. If you're in the Rooted Cafe, we have all those recorded, so you get to listen to that beta. It's like 12 weeks of worth, so it'd be 12 hours in there. We have over 700 hours of training in there with women teachers that are phenomenal. Stuff will blow your mind. Stuff will get you rooted in your home. It's from the super basic practical stuff to the mind-blowing stuff. We have everything. But I love that there's such a relationship between all these things. They're not different. The ark, the Eden, the tabernacle, whatever. So we're going to talk about little things right now. We're going to talk about hooks and boards and bars and columns and sockets. Then we're going to move into the big things. The ark. Ooh, yes, the ark and the menorah, all the things, the table of showbread, the big things, right? And the poles, and then the lid and the veils, all these really big things. And then back in we're in, excuse me, we are in 36 now. And then verse 17, we go back to little things again. So we go from the little things, and then we're going to talk about all the other stuff, and then we're going to talk about the big things, and then we're going to talk about back to the little things. Talk about the garments. Talk about sockets, pegs, garments. And previously we've taught this over the last 8 years, just doing this every week live. 8 years, I mean. You're going to see, if you go to the rootedcafe.com and click the portion, we have all the back. You can go back and listen to back teachings on this. We've kind of gone into some of those hooks and the way the curtains are built together. Beautiful. Those are beautiful. But today, time does not permit for that. But I want to say that those hooks, the root of that word for those hooks is taras. It's to bow oneself, to sink together, or to collapse. It's interesting. These hooks it was humbling. The way they hook things together. Because, no one sees that. No one sees the hooks. Like I'm looking at my curtains. And back in the olden days, remember we had the curtains that maybe still you have the pin that hooks in and then it hung. You don't see that hook. And then there's the bars. These bars, the word, it means like a cross beam. In Exodus 26, we learn about the bars. Then 36, we get back to this detail again about these bars. The root of these cross beams is bara, the bait, resh, and the het. It's beautiful. If you look at these bars that are coming across, these cross beams that are being put in there, it's this house, this humbled, it's housing this humble ruler, right? That inside his presence, he's coming down to bring life. Het, to bring life. It's this unity, het, like a chuppah. The chuppah brings unity of male and female in God. It's this beautiful picture of the letters of het. It's like It's just beautiful. I'm not going to go into that, but it's a beautiful, beautiful thing of that chuppah and the way that the letters of the het, the way that it's the male and the female letter with a woman covering the man, random, showing how that together we're working together, bringing the strength, opposing forces, holding it up so the presence can come in and be magnifying. We have columns, their sockets, their bases. We go in from the highest to the smallest, to the largest, to the lowest. We talk about pins and pegs in the courtyard. Yet, they're yated, the yod, the tav, the resh. The yod, the hand, the mark, the sign, the tav, the resh, that humbled ruler again. That's the pegs. This hand that's connecting. And I'm thinking, we have chords. I mean, I'm not going to get into all the root. I looked all these up. But one of the things about the chords I love that in this root, the root word of the for chords was yatar, to be redundant or to go over and above, to exceed measures. I mean, God of details. Details. I want you to peg everything down so when a wind comes up, it's not going to blow and tumble everything in order. He's a God of order. I don't want everything willy-nilly all over the place. I've looked ahead and I'm going to prepare. He's teaching us. I think he's teaching us about not reacting to things and being prepared for the winds when they come up. When we look at all these little things that are added in here, cross beams, pegs, all the pegs, making sure things are held down. The cords holding it down, which is an extra step. It wasn't thrown together. It was excellent. My husband has this amazing spirit of excellence. I'm going to tell you, I even wrote in my notes, insert eye roll here. At first, it was too much for me. He was extra, like everything he went goes the extra mile on. But what I found with the experience in our marriage now is that all of the extra that he does is an extra layer of protection. So guess what happens? I'm now all the extra little things going above and beyond, making sure something is taken care of, making sure something is cleaned really well, making sure it's oiled, the cars are done on time, things are taken care of, everything's paid early, whatever. What happens is because of that preparation, when something goes wrong, we have shalom in our home. It doesn't toss us all around the place. That good stewardship isn't just so things last longer, but it's so that we're protected. And I think that it goes with our bodies. We look at all the little extras that he goes above and beyond of protecting the beautiful things on the inside. Do we go above and beyond with this outside protecting the things on the inside? What are we putting in our body? What are we allowing on the outside through our eye gates, our mouth gates, our ear gates? What are we allowing to come in that isn't protective of those inner things? It's not good stewardship. In our home, it's not about, oh, we're the super preppers, but like not taking care of our car, not making sure we have extra of something, not going over and a little bit over and above on some things in our home. It really protects us from being out of order. It's not it becoming a god to us or we're driven in fear by no means. But guess what? If there's an emergency, we have the buffer. And that, I believe, is a good representation because we're not running around constantly reacting to things. Is that your life? Are you running around constantly reacting to everything that your life is just that chaos? Is that death? I bet you that's part of the death of not honoring Shabbat. Because having that peace and that rest and getting in alignment with him and setting that day apart, I think then sets up our week then. So we go into our week, we could hear him, so we notice the things not in fear that need to be bolted down, pegged down, maybe some extra cords put in to make sure they're solid. And I love in this section, everybody got to it. Everybody got to it. It's a this is such a beautiful picture of what community is looking like. I think this is the beautiful, beautiful picture of heaven. They all jumped up and started to work. Imagine if our congregations look like this. I know a lot of congregation leaders read this and they're like, oh, I just wish mine would be like this. But I think that if we spent those personal retreat times, if we set that time aside the way we're supposed to on Shabbat, again, I don't want you to get religious about this. I want you to talk to him and let it be your download. But I think that if we spent that leaders, I'm going to talk to leaders now. Everyone listen, you're leaders, you're leading a congregation. Maybe it's in your home. You're leading your home and you just wish everybody would take out the trash and do their jobs. But when you're spending shoulder to shoulder time with your creator, as a leader, you get downloads for the vision from him. And then the people are going to see that vision and they're going to know it's from the creator. And that's inspiration. If he says, if I be lifted up, I'll draw all men unto me. So if you're constantly lifting up the creator and the things you're doing, as opposed to your good ideas and, oh, let's try. I mean, I'm talking to myself right here. So thanks for listening while I preach to myself. The more time I spend shoulder to shoulder with my creator, the more I'm inspired and the more I see little things in my house. A simple thing, I haven't even told my husband this. It's a little thing. But lately, I've been running around emptying trash cans because I know it's something my husband normally does. But it's a little thing that for some reason he laid it on my heart that that's somewhere I need to jump in and do every once in a while. I'm not saying I do it every day, but I've been doing it every few days, going around and emptying trash cans. What I appreciate is the work that my husband's doing now. I'm seeing from it this leadership as a woman leading my home. I see this. I'm leading as Sarah led her home. That kind of leadership. I'm seeing from my side of the leadership team. But I also see areas in the Rooted Cafe ministry team. I see areas in my own ministry as far as teaching and speaking and travel. I see areas where standing shoulder to shoulder with him, I can see the things that aren't necessary. And I feel that the more we do that, I think that I want to challenge leaders. I think that the more our Shabbat looks like him and spending time in that womb, so new things are created in us. It's that where life is created, I should say. Life and refreshing happens. I think we're going to see huge differences in our congregations and our families because everyone's going to all of a sudden, if we're all doing it, we're going to all step into the thing that we're supposed to do. It might be little like taking out the trash. It might be something small like going the extra mile on something that who knows that later down the line a big wind was going to come up and you're so glad you tied those cords down. You're so glad you put the pegs in. I don't think our God is a God who lets chaos run our lives. That's the death. That's that death of not being in Shabbat. But when we're in Shabbat with him, we're prepared the way that Noah was prepared. We see the last days coming. It was going to be like the end of Noah, the days of Noah. He was prepared. It took a while, but he was prepared. Everything was ready for when it happened. We see the 10 virgins. We have 5 that were ready and 5 that were not. Their oil was ready. It was work. It's work getting the oil. It's work getting all that stuff ready. But they were ready because he delayed. We talked about last week, Moshe delaying. We see Yeshua. Sometimes I feel like he's delaying. Like, come on, can you just come? Is he delaying and you've become like these other 5 virgins and you're not preparing? You're not doing the little things on your tabernacle because maybe there's going to be a season where you're going to need to be stronger and you're not going to need to be dependent on sugar and you need the energy that maybe sugar and carbs and all these things are bringing death to your body. Then you're like, this is not the pegs and the ropes that he's calling me to do in my body. Are the people perishing in your congregations and your families for a lack of knowledge and vision? Because they got to the place where they had more than enough. We all like sarcastically say, I wish that was the problem. Well, why don't you? That's what I told myself. Or I guess I don't know if it was the Holy Spirit. Well, why don't you have more than enough? Why aren't you turning people away? Because am I building a house that he didn't tell us to build? Is it laboring in vain? Because when I do the things that he tells me to do, he pays for it. He brings the people for it. There's provision for it. And I just want to say, if you're struggling right now with something you're trying to build in ministry, would you take a step back? Would you use your time alone with him? Take a step back, get shoulder to shoulder. throw the plans out again and say, Father, what's yours, what's not yours, and get rid of whatever isn't him. He doesn't want you laboring in vain. So we get Exodus 36:11. Gosh, we're not even very far. We talked about the couplings on the curtains. Habar is the root for the Hebrew root for these couplings, and I love that. It's to bind together, to bring fellowship, to adhere. Again, this is such a beautiful picture of fellowship, of a community working together, of a family working together, of the parts of our body. If we go through this and we ask how he's building this tabernacle, it reminds me of like my body. He joined bones together. He joins muscles and ligaments together, nerves and neurons together, and all the way my body functions. It's so much like that. Okay. They even make a place for the slaughtering in chapter 38, the slaughter place. There's this place where we get dirty. There's a place where the Levites come in and stand and help get dirty, process sin, guilt, shame. We have the laver. We're talking about, again, the mirrors that the women, it's said that these women, the reason that the Hebrews proliferated in Egypt was because the women had these mirrors, and they just, when the men would come home so tired, they'd make sure they had something to make sure they looked beautiful. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what the sages say. It was all about their vanity. But instead of it being about their vanity right now, it actually was about proliferating and saving a nation. These same mirrors now continue to bring unity and not vanity. As they're washing their hands, they're washing their self-reflection. It's a different kind of a reflection. They're wanting to see him as they get rid of everything that's not him. And the same labor, remember, is the same place where the women would come as they were convicted of adultery. It would be the thing that could save their life as well. It was, but more importantly, it was reflecting him and not beauty. And then, okay, last thing, 38:22, and I'm out. Random thought. Bezalel from the tribe of Judah. He built all that Abba had commanded. Oholiab from the tribe of Dan engraved and designed things. Bezalel means mankind created in it's Bezalel Elohim is man created in the image of God. Isn't it interesting that Bezalel is the one, Judah, Yeshua was a builder, the carpenter. Bezalel was the builder of the foundation. He was the builder of everything. Oholiab was the one who did all the intricate stuff, right? But Bezalel was actually the one, and Bezalel's name is mankind created in the image of God. That's who we are. That's what we get to do. Can we partner with him? Can we be like Yeshua? Be that carpenter? Or is our focus on empire and not kingdom? Are your gifts and resources going to the kingdom? Are you aligning with his word? Are you aligning with his plans? Are you aligning with what he's doing? And are you building kingdom? Or are we building out things that are hay, stubble, that are just going to be gone and they don't even matter? I want to be like Bezalel. I want to be that man. I want to be the mankind created in the image of God. I want to be the tabernacle of the Holy Spirit. I'm working on it. You guys know, since the last 4 or 5 months, I'm working on healthy. I want to be a healthy representation. I want this tabernacle to be like Bezalel. I want to build this. I want to build kingdom things that represent him. And I challenge you, what are you good at? And how can you use it to build the kingdom?
זה שיר פשוט, זה שיר קצר, אולי נשמע טיפה מוזר, אבל תדע, כי זו עובדה, שאלוהים אוהב אותך, והוא רואה, והוא שומע, ואכפת לו מכל דבר קטן. תדע לך, שזו עובדה, שאלוהים אוהב אותך.
זה שיר פשוט, זה שיר קצר, אולי נשמע טיפה מוזר, אבל תדע, כי זו עובדה, שאלוהים אוהב אותך.
We are richly blessed to bring you what we believe is the fullest, most diverse, yet up-to-date progressive teachings, discussion, and prayer programming you can find anywhere on this planet. Be sure to take the tour of the MessianicLambRadio.com website. I'm Susan Hoogie, thanking you for joining us on the Messianic Lamb Video Network.